Billionaires are sometimes so rich to the point that they have enough money individually to solve world hunger if they wanted to. But when you think they are gathered to discuss the next best way to make the world better, you actually discover that they are planning their next party. Billionaires are party animals, to say the least, and they have a load of money. So, where else can they invest in? Allow us to introduce you to the life of billionaires and their endless secret parties for years. Conspiracy theorists have opined that billionaires have secret events where they gather and do nothing but have fun. They don't discuss plans for the future and just blow their money on hookers and drugs, based on popular parties. Let's share how it goes. The mega-rich arrive in their numbers to these parties. You actually don't realize how many mega-rich people exist in the country until one of these billionaire parties hold. Then they go straight into booze and load themselves with alcohol, because who wants to have fun sober? Afterwards, the drugs start to appear, which can vary from coke to heroin or even stronger pills. After getting high, they begin to separate into groups and things get wild. At these kinds of gatherings, there's usually an overflow of girls, some who tend to be underage and trafficked. Have you heard of little St. Jane? It was an island owned by Jeffrey Epstein, located in the United States. Virgin Island, right under our noses. Epstein would gather the mega-rich of the world and give them access to underage girls that have been trafficked and likely missing for years with their family members searching for them. The billionaires went there with only one mission, which was to abuse young girls, sometimes with their wives in the crime. Jeffrey Epstein had a long list of people who had worked with him to keep the island running, and Bill Clinton and Donald Trump were included. Well, it's not entirely surprising because running that level of crime on that scale requires some sort of backing. If presidents were on his list of associates, imagine the other people that sponsored his crimes anyway. His island house billionaires that were pedophiles, and for them, it was just another party that meant nothing but a good time. It was just another avenue for these billionaires to show themselves who could spend the most money at an event, and best believe they were going all out to prove themselves. Parties like the ones organized by Jeffrey Epstein actually take a short amount of time to boomerang in the organizer's phase, and Jeffrey was arrested in 2008 for child prostitution and convicted while he was in jail. He committed suicide by hanging himself, and that was how he got out of serving his punishment while his victims remained traumatized. Speaking in support of these billionaire parties, some of Jeffrey Epstein's victims sued the FBI for not taking reports seriously and refusing to properly investigate Epstein. If they had done their job better, maybe Epstein would have not gone on with his crimes for 20 years, stealing years of his victims' lives, just for handouts from the billionaires that he served. If the FBI had done the job they get paid to do, we may not be having these conversations. But not all billionaire parties are like Epstein's. Some hold parties just for the sake of orgy. They wanted to purchase out the entire hotel, so they could just turn it into a giant orgy. After overseeing a boutique hotel for years, a luxury hotel manager decided to come forward and share the weird things he experienced. The billionaires that would come to these hotels to throw parties would buy the entire place out and have conversations about buying really expensive properties, like they were just talking about getting ice cream. These billionaires also had nasty attitudes and talked to the hotel workers like they were slaves, and you had better pay attention to them. The part that was the most disgusting about these wild parties is that you would see people having in public, in full view, without any fear of consequences. Who was going to punish them when they already bought the entire place out? The billionaires seem to have an obsession with people watching them have ass, because even those that booked rooms waited until housekeeping was with them before getting into the action of all the fetishes to have you choose, letting people watch you get intimate. How convenient. But a theme that was also common with these parties is that people were also getting trafficked there. You would find a billionaire swingers party with underage girls that had zero idea what was going on according to an internet user. What was the fun of those parties if people weren't there against their will? After the parties, traces of blood, feces, and semen would be left in the rooms, and we wonder the level of cleaning needed to bring the room back to life and make it habitable again. The billionaires came with bad attitude and left the room in a terrible state. What do you expect from people that spend a lot on irrelevant gatherings with trafficked girls? The more you think about the situation, the more you realize how insane it gets. But just like some parties are as bad as Jeffrey Epstein's, some are worse. Ever heard of the Bohemian? The Bohemian Club is a group of influential white men who gather in the woods on a yearly camping trip to drink beer and chill. It shouldn't be a problem because some people actually want to create spaces for themselves and people like them. But when a journalist infiltrated their space, we discovered something new about the club. They are not just your average billionaires gathering to goof around. Their major instruction was weaving spider come not here, which means no matter what, nobody at the camp is allowed to talk about real-world matter. When the journalist infiltrated their space, he found out that all the members of the club worshipped an owl statue. They had a large golden owl statue that they all performed a ritual to, and apparently that owl was their master. Now, one thing you should know is that this club has scientists as members and intelligent people that should know better, but they also seem to believe that the algo has something to offer them. We can't argue that the scientists were in those gatherings because they needed funding, because they couldn't talk about real-world issues at the club. So what's the problem with them? As if bowing down to an owl statue isn't weird enough, the journalist revealed that they also did human sacrifices. Yes, human sacrifices in the 21st century, and it gets scarier. The journalists claimed that they placed their human sacrifice in a mortar and pounded the person. He initially thought it was a woman until he heard the cries of a baby, a literal child. They assumed the human sacrifice would appease their owl god and give them good fortune in those kinds of situations. You can't ask questions or you would be spotted as an odd one. You can't question the activities, and saying too much can get you in trouble. These wilderness camping experiences don't lead to orgies based on what we know, but it involves sacrifice, which would only increase the rate of missing people going up and making innocent people suffer for archaic beliefs. The Bohemian Club is the weirdest billionaire party out there for now, and if there's anyone worse, it would be mayhem. As we mentioned earlier, people sometimes want spaces for themselves and people like them and don't want outsiders around them, which is fine. Billionaires have gotten and remain where they are because of their relationship with other rich people like them. They develop ideas that help them move their businesses forward. And although being a billionaire requires unethical methods, building partnerships is not unethical. So when billionaires organize parties, it's an avenue for them to know themselves better, and networking is the best way to go ahead in life. However, what haunts people are the activities that go down at these parties. Cell phones and social media aren't allowed. Even the Met Gala once banned private picture taking and phones at their event because they wanted people to enjoy the event. But we all know that it's more than just taking pictures at these freak parties. The attendees and organizers don't want to risk anyone exposing things they do in secret. Not all billionaire parties involve conversations about world domination. In fact, most don't talk about global issues. But if the videos and pictures of the things that happen at these parties come to light, many people's reputations would suffer. No matter how much people try to boycott billionaires' products, there's a large percentage of people that would still go ahead and patronize these people, which undermines the effort of those fighting. However, if evidence of the heinous activities that go down in billionaire parties come out, then there would be an uproar. Firstly, the billionaires would need to explain where they get the drugs they use at their party. Coke and some other hard drugs are illegal to possess across the world. It wouldn't be like the authorities don't already know what's going on, but they'll need to stage an investigation, and the underdog will take the fall. Secondly, they'll need to explain why there's a high level of trafficking happening at their events. Is that plant? What if the Bohemian Club is raided and the human sacrifice allegations are true? How do they navigate that? The authorities won't be able to cover it up because people would be on their necks fighting for justice. What do you think would happen to Epstein's 150 associates? How do you think they would justify sponsoring child prostitution and then running for president? Don't they have a moral compass, or are all billionaires slow? There would be lots of questions with zero answers provided. It's true that billionaires have secret parties that even your favorite celebs don't hear about and can never attend. There are events that these billionaires go all out for just to have the kind of fun they can't access in the real world. While we are not saying that billionaires should stop having parties, we can't even say that the authorities may need to do some digging into the situations at these parties. It would take a while to achieve that level of social equality, but that's a great way in preventing the rich from preying on the poor and desperate.